The introduction for the next one almost sounds like the beginning of a soap opera, so I'll start it in this way. In a world that is evolving at exponential speed, digital transformation is not an option anymore. It is a necessity. And the reality of digital ERA and the president of SAP Latin America and the Caribbean, Claudio Muruzabal, will demystify the important role of new technologies in the public sector and the leading factors that make digital governments into more efficient, effective, and sustainable organizations. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to SAP's Claudio Muruzabal.
Thank you, Spiro. Good morning. So, I guess that I am the last speaker before lunch, right?
No.
There's even more? Okay, good. So, I'm going to focus this morning on the role of digital transformation in public sector, but not so much to discuss the technologies itself, but what is it that we can do to really take advantage of this revolution. And, you know, we're in Miami. Where else would we be to have this discussion? It's the gateway of the Americas, but it is also a city that in the last 3 years has become the platform for startups based in technology for the Americas. There's not a better place than to be here to really share the direction that the industry is taking. So with that in mind, it is obvious that technology is shaping the way not only in which we run our private sector institutions and our public sector institutions, but the way we run our own life. And it is important to understand how to take advantage of the technology for the benefit of our constituents, of our stakeholders, because the growth is exponential. But that's not the important topic. The real important topic is the fact that technology is leveling the playing field. It is generating opportunities for everybody. It is a unique time for small institutions to be more advanced, to be better equipped than the large ones that have all the resources. That's what technology really does. And in doing that, we're more connected than ever. So, what is the real task at hand? It's not implementing the best technology. It's understanding what comes first. What are the priorities? What makes a real difference? Because in the end, it's understanding the evolution that technology has in the different geographies. And I'm using the Digital Evolution Index that is presented by Harvard Business Review. And I just took the Americas and looked at where we are when you compare the 4 quadrants. If you are in the watch out, if you're in the breakout, if you are way ahead. And it's clear that most of the countries in Latin America are in the breakout phase. So there's very fast growth. There is an interest in absorbing the new technology, but we're far behind from being where we need to be. This is where most of the countries fit. I would highlight Mexico and Brazil. Particularly Chile seems to be more ahead, and that's because of the deregulation of the telecom media industry happened earlier than in the rest of the countries. And then obviously Canada and the US are way ahead, but probably in a different momentum and growing at a slower pace. So with the Digital Evolution Index in mind, let's get back to emerging technologies. And when we say emerging technologies, we're obviously talking about Internet of Everything. We're talking about big data, artificial intelligence and assisted technology of machine learning, And as important as all of that is conversational systems powered by natural language. All of these technologies, which when you ask the private sector, they would tell you that they are the future and that they will invest in the next 4 or 5 years to bring some of these technologies to mind. You say, but wait a minute. If I just pull up my smartphone, I have more of these technologies in my phone today than many of the Fortune 500 companies have. So we're talking about the future, but the future is here, it's now. Because these technologies have already emerged, and it's a question of understanding how do we really utilize it for the benefit, in this case, of our fellow citizens. So there's no doubt that the future is now, but the real question is how do we create an environment by using these technologies that is efficient, is seamless, but it's also transparent in terms of the services that we provide to our citizens. So it's more a question of how do we utilize these technologies. And the concept here is, on one end, implementation. So how do we really take advantage? Let me give you an example. Some of you in the audience probably traveled into Miami, went through immigration, used these fancy new terminals that we have, but you still stayed in line. And some of you took, more time than you expected. That's where it's not just the technology, it's the implementation that you do of that technology that makes a difference. And the other issue that I want to leave you with is, it's not just how you implement, but typically we think of technology in terms of the front office. We think of technology on how do we serve our customer, a stakeholder, a citizen, and that's fine. But the real value added comes from implementing digital transformation in what it has to do with the cost of operation, the expenses that you incur. That's where there is the real benefit. So, trying to go one step in that same direction, here's one piece of data that I think is very relevant. Artificial intelligence, one of the many digital transformation technologies or emerging technologies, according to a Deloitte study, will free 1.2 billion hours of government employees every year. That's about 40 billion in cost. So, while this is important, what does it do to the workforce? So, if we're going to reduce the number of hours civil servants dedicate to these tasks, what is the impact in the workforce? And in that respect, before I get to the robots and Sophia, which is interesting comment here, there was a study by the OECD that was published about 10 days ago that questioned the theory that employment was going to go away as a result of new technology. And there's no doubt that employment will be impacted. But I don't think robots like Sophia, who will be on stage, in the main stage tomorrow, and if you haven't followed, it's a full robot that will do a keynote and a series of Q&As. I don't think the world of Sophia is what we should be concerned about. Not really. It is more understanding how technology can power our minds. Because if we do a good job of connecting the third industrial revolution capabilities of the machine with the unique creative capabilities that the human has in the fourth industrial revolution, we would have created something that is better than the sum of the parts. But the concern here is that while we drive new levels of progress and we utilize the technology to do that, is what is left for the rest of the society. And going back to the study by the OECD, if you read it carefully, the biggest concern is the low-skilled labor. This would be the one that would be most impacted by technology, by artificial intelligence. And we as leaders have an obligation to find a path for those individuals that will be impacted. And the path that is behind is education. And the more opportunities that we create for STEM education, be it south of the border or north of the border, the better we will be prepared to provide our fellow citizens with an opportunity to take advantage of the digital transformation revolution. So not everything is lost. If we can provide the right education answer, and if we can combine the unique technologies with the capabilities of new labor and work opportunities that will be created, there is definitely a great future ahead. So let me get back to technologies and how they impact government. When I introduced my definition of emerging technologies, I left blockchain out. Because I truly believe that if there's one revolutionary technology, it is blockchain. It will bring a level of trust and confidence in everything that we do that has never been seen before. And it will impact the public sector even more than it will impact the private sector, creating a level of transparency that doesn't exist today. And with blockchain in mind, let me introduce to you an example from a small community in the middle of the mountains in the north of Italy, South Tyrol, that has implemented blockchain technology as a way to better serve their fellow citizens. So let's look at this example. Please roll the video.
South Tyrol awes visitors and residents alike with natural beauty. Home to the Dolomites, a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Living in South Tyrol is like living in paradise. You have beautiful mountains, nice weather, but when it comes to bureaucracy, then things change.
Gabriella is not alone. Red tape hinders the work of public officials all around the world and burdens citizens with redundant processes.
I think no matter where you live, bureaucracy is always annoying.
Improving government efficiency is key to any region's competitiveness, but may seem like a daunting task to most. Not so for South Tyrol, which bets on technology to radically change the game.
We use more than 1,000 different software applications to store and use the citizen data in our local government. Citizens fill out forms every time they get engaged with the public administration. We want to change that.
Enter blockchain, a distributed ledger that some see as the most important breakthrough innovation since the advent of the internet.
Blockchain can deliver a whole new level of data truthfulness and security for the public administration. It's all about radically simplifying IT landscapes, and we can deliver inherently transparent systems.
South Tyrol embarked on a journey to simplify citizen engagement and drive digital government initiatives, together with SAP, a funding member of the Blockchain Research Institute and premier member in the Hyperledger project.
We envision a future where we will be able to foresee the needs of our citizen and propose the right service at the right time, even before the citizen asks for the service.
In Bolzano, blockchain is already making a difference. The civil servants working on documents can do all the things that they have done in the past in 4 steps in 1. This gives them much more time to work with the citizens rather than to do routine work. because mathematics cannot be corrupted. They can work on a high level of trust and collaboration. So it brings identity management on the next level.
Perhaps most profoundly, blockchain promises to democratize the network-driven world by giving people stronger protection against corruption.
The great thing about blockchain is you're creating a link in a chain. Nothing behind that chain can be disturbed, that link. Nothing before that link can be disturbed. So you're creating a seal-proof, encrypted transaction.
In South Tyrol, technology translates to better and faster citizen services at lower operational costs, saving taxpayers money.
The systems will become less expensive, easier to maintain, and on the other side, citizens don't have to fill out a lot of forms.
For Gabriella, this means a renewed pride that South Tyrol is not only a natural wonder, but also a digital leader fully committed to improving the lives of its residents.
Well, I'm not a tech expert, but we all notice the digitalization and we all talk about smart cities. I'm very glad that South Tyrol is about to improve things.
Very good. So, again, a small community in the north of Italy, probably with less resources that many of our communities have, is using this technology to create the level of transparency that is required to run a community these days. So, in the end, it's not about the resources. It's not about size. It's about having the right digital mindset that would truly make the difference. So with that, clearly, it all depends on our imagination. It depends on our capabilities. It depends on a forward-thinking mentality to make a real difference. In the end, transparency generates a level of relationship with our citizens that is completely different from what we probably had before. And what it does, it builds trust. Because trust in the end is the ultimate currency. It is what really makes the difference. And it connects with purpose. When we talk about these new technologies and the fact that they are creating opportunities that didn't exist before, the video used the concept of democratization, and it's one that I use a lot. It is creating opportunities that didn't exist before, where the small players can challenge the bigger ones. We, as drivers of technology, wherever our place is, we have to think of this in terms of purpose. What else can we do? How can we apply this technology to transform the lives of our fellow citizens, especially those that have more need? So you can select where to start. The United Nations 17 Sustainable Goals is a good way to start. You can choose one of the 17 and see how technology can be applied to transform your business if you're in the private sector, the life of your citizens if you are in the public sector. We at SAP have clearly made purpose our objective. And our purpose is to help the world run better, and in the process of doing that, improve people's lives. And we are very fortunate to have thousands of customers that have selected us to help them in the process, because the best, no doubt, run SAP. Thank you very much.